Hey, my book lovelies! Welcome back. Today, I'm going to be reading out some 1-star reviews of books that I think are 5 stars and telling you why you should still pick that book up. We ain't fallen for any of these 1-star reviews, but some of them are hilarious. Obviously, I have removed the person's name who's written the review. There is no hate towards them. It's just a little bit of fun because not everybody's going to like the same books. So let's dive in and see some hilarious 1-star reviews. I was kicking and screaming when I was finding these. So the first book is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And the first 1-star review I came across was Xaden wears skinny jeans. I was like, okay, fair enough. I don't know if I picked that up in the book, but yeah. The second one was y'all must be joking. I want to know more. Like some of these 1-star reviews, I'm like, what do you think? What is the joke? Like, what more do I need to tell you about this book? How do I win you over? The third one as well, I should have DNF'd this when I found out he wears skinny jeans. Where is this skinny jeans reference? Like, do they talk about skinny jeans? Do I need to do a reread? I don't know. And then the fourth one says, I can't help but sympathise with poor dragons stuck in this story. The dragons have the best time. Like, the dragons are getting freaky with each other, which makes the humans want to get freaky with each other. Like, I feel like the dragons are just having the best time ever. So yeah. This is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, and the reason I think you should read this is the world you get to escape in is beautifully built. It's technically dark academia, fantasy, spice, and of course the dragons are super fun as well. So in this book, you meet a girl called Violet Sorrengail, and you meet Xaden Ryerson. Now, Violet is very good at working in the library, doing all the scribes work. She actually has kind of a hidden disability, which I love the representation of in this book. She's not built the way that everybody else is. She has very weak knees and is never trained to be a dragon rider. Yet her mother is like, no, you're going to go out and you're going to fight dragons. And that potentially could all go wrong. Like, honestly, she's not built to ride these dragons. And now Xaden is part of a group of people who are allowed to be dragon riders, even though his family were technically, trying to bring the kingdom down. Traitors, I guess you'd call them. Made me think of the TV show Traitors and Faithfuls. And when she meets him, he is like giving her daggers. Like, he wants to remove her from the world. And she's like, aha, what am I doing here? I love it because you've got this kind of forbidden romance, you've got her trying to bond with dragons, you've got her overcoming her disability. So everybody else does the trials that they have to get through in normal ways. She looks at it through a different lens. She changes the way the trials is designed. She changes the way she can attack a trial to survive. And she's very cunning, she's very clever, and I absolutely love that about her. I feel like you get this real sense of, yeah, this girl's gonna do it for herself. Like, ain't nobody helping her. So of course it's so good. And also you're gonna fall in love with the dragons. So yeah, I can't answer if he wears skinny jeans or not, but I'm a millennial. So if he does, I'm kind of pro skinny jeans anyway, so it doesn't upset me too much. But you should definitely still read Fourth Wing. It's so good. And if you did like it, and you agree with me, let me know in the comments. If you didn't like it, I need to know why. But the series is so good. We're obviously still waiting for book 4. So you have to know going into it, you've got Fourth Wing, Iron Flame, and Onyx Storm, and then you're going to be left on the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers. Each book has done that to us, and we've waited for the next one. So if you're someone who likes to read a complete series, maybe grab them now so you can guarantee that you've got them in hardback, but you might want to wait to read them. The second book that didn't do too well on Goodreads either is Icebreaker by Hannah Grace. This book was my first ice hockey romance I ever read, so it does hold a very deep place in my heart. But the first 1-star review says, I want to burn the characters alive. Of course you're going to be annoyed at the characters. It is a forced proximity, enemies to lovers situation. Like, they are going to wind each other up and maybe wind you up as well. This book would be better if all the characters died. Oh no, people really hate on Nate and Anastasia, and I just don't know why. I feel like if you've read The Deal by Elle Kennedy, you are getting more cutesy in that, and maybe this one isn't as cutesy as that because she is a fierce ice skater. Like, she is going to go out and she is going to win. And he is an ice hockey player whose team messes about, but he takes it seriously. He can't help that his team are jocks and just take the mick at every single turn. Like, the fact I have these in collector's editions shows you how much I love this series. It has a special place in my heart, and the way they have to share the ice, it is going to wind you up. Like, that's the whole point of the story. You're meant to feel the anger she feels. You're meant to feel the anger he feels towards the other character. That slowly starts to like melt, literally, and it's just so swoony and it's so good. So yeah, and then someone said, no, y'all lied to me. What the hell was this? Book Talk has terrible taste. Now, one thing I have noticed on Goodreads, as soon as someone doesn't like a book that's popular, Book Talk gets blamed. Not Bookstagram, not BookTube, Book Talk. They go for Book Talk as if like it's talked about the most on there, therefore we are to be blamed. If I'm recommending a book on Book Talk, I generally like the book. It might not, like, you can see behind me, there's some books you've probably seen before that are very popular Book Talk books. There's probably also some that you haven't seen as much that I talk about on my Book Talk. I don't see why I'm getting the blame for you not liking this book. I loved it. I loved it. It had everything. The spice was so good. There's also some trauma, and I think people don't always like trauma in books, but I'm a big trauma fan. And then the final one was, I'm too old for this shit. Look, you are never too old to read spicy ice hockey romance. Now, it may not be your thing. You may feel like it's childish, and that is absolutely okay. But if you just want a little bit of escapism, a little bit of fun, a little bit of trauma, some text messages that are just spicy and naughty and everything, like, this book is so good. So you meet two characters. They're very determined to progress in their careers. They get in each other's way, or at least their teams get in each other's way. And it leads to a little bit of chaos. And honestly, if you like The Deal by Elle Kennedy, if you liked Hannah Cohen as an ice hockey romance author, I'm trying to think who else. If you like Heat of Rivalry, but you want a FM ice hockey romance, pick this up today. But those 1-star reviews, honestly, the last one has me giggling the most. The next one I want to talk about is Better Than the Movies by Lynn Painter. This falls into more of a YA romance. It does have some trauma and just the cuteness. And I don't know if people don't like the cuteness. I always find when I see 1-star reviews, people are going to love one of the characters and hate them. And for some reason, people are very anti-Liz in this book. And she's a girl who's lost her mum and is grieving that loss still years later. So I just think we need a little bit of sympathy for her, because the first comment is, this 1-star is only for Wes. Now, I get it. I saw so many comments where people are like, I'm giving this 1-star to Wes. Wes actually annoyed me more than Liz. So I feel like I sit in a different category. Maybe that's why it's a 5-star read for me. They're neighbours. They fight over a parking space. She is obsessed with old movies because of her mother. So each book starts with a quote from one of the old movies. And so, like, when Harry met Sally, a woman friend. This is amazing. You may be the first attractive woman I've not wanted to sleep with in my entire life. And I love that because I love films. So having those references at the start of the book was great. Now they fight over this parking space, and Liz says to Wes, get me this date to prom. I've been obsessed with this guy. He's just come back to town. Get him to be my prom date. We'll make him jealous or whatever. Make him think I'm popular. Make him think I'm cool. And you can have the parking space until we go off to college. And obviously he's like, yeah, fine, that's a great deal. The second one I saw is, it's so bad, I want to give 0, but it's not possible, so I'd give 1. You can't give 0. You cannot give a book 0 stars, because I'm guessing you finished it. Like, they didn't say they DNF'd it. Why do these make me chuckle so much? I feel like I should find my 1-star books and do the 5-star ratings. The third one just was trash. Trash. I feel like some of these 1-star reviews are great, but trash. I ain't learning anything from that 1-star review. And then the final one says, I'm DNFing this book, sorry. It's not a bad book. I just can't take Liz's personality. And the whole friends to lovers trope, when I already know what happens. I do want to read the second book though, maybe. That one, I love it. So, like, you know it's friends to lovers, and maybe some people don't want to know the tropes going into a book. And I don't even, I would call them friends. I don't think it's friends lovers. I think it's kind of like forced proximity to lovers, in all honesty. But he obviously starts to get feelings for her as you work your way through the book. He starts to realise, yeah, she is cool and popular. I've always known she's cool and popular. And I've always kind of secretly liked her. But I love that they're like, but I do want to maybe try the second book. Now, I haven't read the second book yet because I'm scared that it'll ruin the first book. This book was just perfection for me, and I don't feel like I need a second book to it. But yeah, if you love romance with trauma, with yearning, like high school movies. I don't know if you guys have watched like the TV, like all those movies like 10 Things I Hate About You and What a Girl Wants, all those sorts of things where it's like that kind of high school movie setting. This book's going to give you that. Next book I actually can't find my copy for, but I still want to talk about it. So it's The Women by Kristen Hanna. This book changed me. I am a huge historical fiction fan, and Kristen Hanna just gets this book spot on. So this is the story, it's set in Vietnam. It follows different women and their story of being nurses in the war and the way they were treated when they came back. Now, as a big fan of like things like Forrest Gump as well, I love anything where you can kind of get the same feeling. Obviously it's not the same as Forrest Gump, but we know he went off to the war. This book is so important to show the way that women have been treated in history, and I loved it. But the first one says, if Meredith Grey served in Vietnam and came home, this would be her story. I would read that. I would 100% read that. I am a huge fan of Grey's Anatomy, and I love Meredith Grey. I think she's a great character. So you using that as a 1-star review, I'm totally here for. This one says, if this book has no haters, I'm dead. You know what? Not everybody's going to like the book. I get that. It is more of a romanticized focus on history. So, of course, you are following these women through history. And Kristen Hanna does it in such a clever way that whilst you're learning about certain historical events in America, you are also getting that romance to keep you turning the page. And I think the way she balances that is done perfectly. But I get that not everybody's going to love it. I get that not everybody wants the romance. Some people will just want the historical fiction element. Some people would not want as much of the heavy side of things. The third one says, this book was choppy, annoying, and repetitive. I will never look at a book rating on this app again. You guys are not to be trusted. It does make me laugh because when I'm looking at the overall ratings, this book overall gets 4.59 stars, which out of 5 is huge. So the majority of people like it. But that doesn't mean you are going to like it. As much as I've loved this book, there'll be books I love that people don't love, and vice versa, books that I've not wanted to read or not continued with that people have adored. But what this book gives you is a real sense of empowerment. And then I just think that that's someone saying that you're not to be trusted. It's all personal opinion at the end of the day. Like, somebody might tell you this is the book of the year and you might go and pick it up and it may not be. But if you want a historical fiction that does follow a romantic like subplot, and you are going to learn a little bit about the way that women were treated during the Vietnamese War, but it's not going to feel as heavy as history. Honestly, I think it's good. I always say whenever I read The Women, this should be used to teach history in school, because as a woman, it's the first time I felt like I understood what my role would have been. And it's just so perfect for that. Of course, we have to talk about Haunting Adeline. I feel like this is a Marmite book. If you're not a big dark romance reader as well, a lot of people start with this. And I always think, I did. But I know now I love dark romance. I'm always nervous for people to start with this book. And on average, it's 3.94 on Goodreads, which is higher than I thought it would be. To the point where I'm like, maybe people who don't like it just don't go on to review it or just DNF it. I don't know. But you meet a girl called Adeline. She's moved into her grandmother's house. And then you meet this serial killer called Z, who has started to stalk her and become obsessed with her. And the same thing has happened to her grandmother, because you have these diary extracts where her grandmother's kind of writing about her experience. I haven't actually read this version because this is my more traditional published version. I have like an old indie version. That's the one I read. So this one's still pristine. But the first 1-star review is, if this man was ugly and 5 foot tall, I'm pretty sure everyone would hate him and his actions. Pretty privilege is real. And I do believe that. I think fair enough for that being a 1-star review. When you read dark romance, the main male character is swoon worthy. He's attractive. Like, you've got a stalker following you and he's attractive, you're going to be a little bit more accepting. I kind of get that as a review, but is that not the case of all romance? Like, I feel like this book just gets a lot of hate. It is dark, it does have stalkers. The next one says, got to go bleach my mind, body and soul now. Again, yeah, I can understand that. It is dark and twisted, but if you think Haunting Adeline's bad, wait till you get to Hunting Adeline. I really want to look at the 1-star reviews of that one, so maybe in a future video I will, but yeah, if you think this one's bad, I'm excited to see what you would think of the second one. And maybe you never made it to the second one, and that's okay, because this book, there's a darkness in it that you think's bad. You hit book 2, that darkness goes further. People that say they like this book are the same as people that are too scared to make a phone call themselves. I make phone calls. I will happily pick up the phone. That doesn't scare me, but I love it. It's like, you say you like this book, but really would you say it in public that you like this book? I actually do, because I talk about it on the internet. So I feel like publicly it is known that I like Haunting and Hunting Adeline, but I get that as a review. And then the final one was just, I want my life back. Do you know what? There are some books I've read where I'm like, yep, I want my life back. And I get that. I get that as a review. But if you want to read a cat and mouse duology that's dark, twisted, if you haven't read dark romance before, you can start here. If you're a big dark romance fan, you can continue here. Then I highly recommend picking this up. But those reviews, there were some really bad ones that I feel like I couldn't show. So honestly, go have a look on Goodreads and check them out, because I was like, I cannot put that like on the screen. That one might be gone like a step too far. Then we have The Favourites by Lane Fargo. So I went into this book not realising how beautiful this was going to be. So I picked it up thinking it was more of an ice hockey romance. It's just trauma. It's about a girl who is trying to become a figure skater. A guy who has come from foster care sees her and is like, oh, I could do that. And they become figure skating partners. And then they just hit every bump in the road. Well, mainly her. She goes through a lot. You read it from her point of view. It's intense. At the start of the book, there are interviews, and you kind of read these. It's like a TV interview. And as you're kind of reading that, you think, wow, how are we going to end up there? This book broke me over and over again. So the first one says, my only favourite thing about this book is how the author didn't discriminate. They made everyone equally slap-worthy. So really what you're saying is you don't like any of the characters. I think that's fair. This is meant to show that it's a hard world to be in. People are flawed. And when you're competing in a professional sport, sometimes your flaws are shown more. I get that. I don't think you're meant to like the characters. Someone else said, I have not read a more convoluted, nonsensical, infuriating read. The fact that this is marketed as a romance is baffling. I haven't wished ill will towards a set of characters more than these in a while. I feel like that's a really strong view. And I'm like, yeah, so I'm the same. I picked it up thinking it was going to be romantic because it's been described as Daisy Jones and the Six meets Wuthering Heights. Trauma is romance. So if you are a fan of trauma romance, you are going to love this. I think that's where the difference is. I am someone who, if I'm reading romance, I need that trauma. I need that intensity. I need those characters who have been through something in life and it isn't easy for them. But if you're not a fan of that, I get it. I completely get that this may not be the book for you. Someone said, Emily Bronte, I'm so sorry. It's only, I get it. Okay. It's not meant to be Wuthering Heights, but that's how they've advertised it, as part Wuthering Heights. It's in its own right. This is where we shouldn't compare books, because in its own right, it's really good. Would you compare it to Wuthering Heights? Probably no. And then someone said reading this felt like a punishment. If you don't gel the book, this is where I think in 2026, I want to reflect more and maybe DNF books sooner, because I don't want to feel like it was a punishment. But this book did not feel like a punishment. If you want that like toxic yearning, this book is it. So you need it on your TBR. Scared to talk about this book because I think it's going to make me cry. So we have Under Your Scars by Ariel Anderson. This book broke me. So if you want a book that you think you're surviving, you will cry. Like, honestly, you're going to cry a few times throughout the book and you're going to think, okay, that's why I'm going to be broken. It can't get worse than that. It can. It gets so much worse. This girl lives in a place called Meridian City. It is a terrible place to live and she wants to live there to do better. Like, the fact that she has that personality, I'm like, you go girl, but I could not do that. I could not live where I'm putting my life at risk. She's got a serial killer stalking her who's obsessed with her and is killing people around her that are hurting her, but she's like, maybe let's not kill them. She's working at this seedy nightclub with a really seedy boss who she thinks something more is going on in that nightclub. And then she's also dating her CEO billionaire boss. And when those three things collide, it hurts the soul even think. I nearly threw up reading this book. So someone says, I don't know if the ending was necessary or even worth the whole story. It simply ruined it for me. So thanks, I guess. So actually, you've made it to the ending. You've enjoyed it and the ending has ruined you. I will take that. That's the type of 1-star review I'm here for. Yes, this ending will break you. You are going to read this whole book and then go, why did I read this? That's how it's going to feel. But some people are going to love that sort of ending and some people aren't. And I'm guessing people aren't. Literally wish I could give this 0 stars. Toxic brain rot. I kind of want to message these people and be like, which bit's toxic? Where did you get to? Like, I have so many questions because when someone doesn't like something I like, I'm okay with that. But I want to know why. I want to know a little bit more. The next one says, this was awful, disgusting, tragic. I fought to finish it, and for what? I liked the darkness at first, but that ending, I want to scream, cry, throw up. Don't walk, run away from it. I actually think you might have given this 1 star, but that's a 5-star review to me. That's the type of review I'd read and be like, I'm running to pick up that book, because yes, that's exactly how I felt. But I love that feeling. Am I just like giving myself trauma here and loving it? And then someone says, I want to sue everybody involved and responsible to have this book be published for emotional damage and psychological trauma and warfare. I love it. So you can see actually with the 1-star reviews for this book, it's not because people necessarily hate the characters, it's not because people hate the story, they just hate the ending and the trauma. And if you're the type of person who loves to cry, loves that kind of traumatic ending, pick this up today. Do it. And also make sure you grab the novella because it heals you a smidgen. This one I'm really scared to read the 1-star reviews for. I don't know if I can take the hate on this book. So this is All the Missing Pieces by Catherine Cowles. It's small-time romance with crime and thriller mixed together. So this girl's twin sister has gone missing. She knows she's dead. Like, she ain't trying to find this girl alive. She knows that whoever's taken her is a serial killer. But obviously when he first started out being a serial killer, there's a pattern. So normally they take someone, see if they can get away with it. Then they take someone, keep them for a bit longer and kill them. And then it just gets worse and worse, progressively worse as time goes on. Or the period between taking people gets shorter or whatever. So she has been doing this crime podcast secretly for years to try and find more about this. And she thinks she's found the first ever case where somebody was taken. So she goes to this town and it is the sheriff's sister and he wants to keep her safe. But you get this grumpy sunshine. Did I read this whole book thinking I know who it was? And every time they came in, I was like, you scumbag. You're a serial killer. Get away from the characters. Yes, I did. And I got it so wrong. But I love when a book makes me feel that way. So I'm terrified to see. So it says, I was bored out of my mind. The plot dragged harder than my feet on Monday morning. Nothing exciting happening until chapter 48. And even then met. Do you not love a grumpy sunshine? Do you not love yearning? Like, if you love a grumpy sunshine, you know that things can't happen. Or have you picked this up thinking it's only crime and thriller? Because if you picked this up thinking it's purely crime and thriller, you are going to be disappointed. You've got to be ready for that yearning, grumpy sunshine romance, which is so good. Dora the Explorer could have solved this faster than her. Now, I've never watched Dora the Explorer, so I don't know if I can argue that. But if this was solved in 2 chapters, I also think you might be giving it a 1-star review. I love that comment, though. That had me chuckling. I feel like that's the sort of comment I can cope with. Then the next one says, it's like Fourth Wing fanfic. Xaden becomes a sheriff. Violet becomes a true crime podcaster. Both trying to solve a cold case. I'm not mad at that. Part 1 of the video was me loving Fourth Wing. So I'm not mad at that. But I don't relate these characters to Xaden. Xaden, like, they're not Grumpy Sunshine. They are enemies. This is Grumpy Sunshine. It's on such a different level. But I love, love, love that comment. So yeah, if you want that kind of slow burn, yearning, and you've got, again, it's just the trauma. Have I got something so wrong with me that I just love trauma? Maybe. But I'm totally okay with the amount of trauma in this that you feel. So yeah, I would 100%, if you've never tried Catherine Cowles before as well, I always say pick this up because a standalone Catherine Cowles is a good place to start. Then we have Shield and Sparrow by Devney Perry. If I had $5 for every horrible romance that's been released in the past 5 years, I'd be a trillionaire. Not billionaire, trillionaire. Maybe you just don't like romance because this book is so good. This book is it. I am feral waiting for book 2. It's about a girl called Odessa who is the daughter of the king. He's then lost her mother, remarried, had another daughter and child, I think a son, and his second daughter is who they're going to marry off to this prince. And this prince turns up and he's like, no, I want her. I want Odessa. And Odessa, like stepmother, is just shocked. She dyes her hair so that she doesn't look like her mom to remind her of the woman that he used to be in love with. Like, that mother is unhinged. So Odessa's got to travel across the world to this new kingdom. And I love it because you start to see this girl grow. Maybe they didn't like it because they don't like that growth, but there are plot twists. Did I see some of them coming? Yes, I did. But I'm okay when I guess a romancy. Not everything needs to be unguessable. The next one says, the only consistent thing in this book was my secondhand embarrassment. If cringe had a final form, this book would be it. I don't think anything in this book is cringy. There's not a lot of world building. It's super easy to read. The characters are lovable. And the hateable ones, you kind of love to hate them. I can't work that one out. But if you've got embarrassment, fair enough. The next one says, what world building? I agree with this one. But not all romances need world building. So if you think about like the fact that vampires are romances, they're often set in a world that we understand because they're set in a world we live in, or they're set in a world that's similar to ours. So yeah, it probably is more dystopian setting where there isn't much world building. Or they're going to do a Fourth Wing where the first book, and I know this for a fact, a lot of people read Fourth Wing who'd never read romancy before and were like, oh, I can get this, I understand this. Went into book 2 and they were like, what in the living hell is this book? Because the world building is like blah, 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 like spilled on all those pages. We might be getting that with the second book of this. That might be happening in the second book, and maybe they've eased us in with this false sense, and then it's going to be like, like literally world building vomit on the page. I can cope with that, but maybe some people won't. And then don't you hate it when a book says it's slow burn and has amazing world building and it turns out to be none of those things? Boo, tomato, tomato, tomato. Okay, it is slow burn because of the plot twist, but the world building I can agree with. But if you are newer to romancy, this is one of my newer ones to recommend to people to say, like, if you want to try a new romancy out and you want a female main character that you're going to be rooting for because it's the first time, like, she can even think what she's going to eat for breakfast and things like that. This girl has had no decision making in her life. You need to pick this up. Then we have The Kiss Thief. This book broke me. You've probably seen from my vlog. If you haven't, go watch one of my vlogs where I'm talking about this book. This book broke me. This book broke me into pieces. I cried. I cried so much. I'm sorry, but it was wrong. Their relationship was wrong. The sex was wrong. There was no communication between them. I did not like it, and I really hope nobody takes this as an example. I don't know how many people are going to meet a senator and be part of a mafia family and go, yes, this is the example of love I want. I don't think that experience is ever going to be there for me. And it was wrong. That I feel like that's the whole point of this story, that it's wrong, but it is so beautifully wrong. The next one, this shit is so bad. I actually laughed out loud at times. I don't get how this sort of ridiculousness gets published. I think I may be dumber for reading this book. Like, I feel like people do not get mafia romance because follows Francesca Rossi, and she's part of an Italian mafia family. She's been told all her life that she's going to marry Angelo Bandini. So, like, she's very naive, she's very innocent, she's still a virgin, and she might look at him across the room with swoony eyes. Their fingers might touch under the table. Like, she has not kissed this guy. And she wants this fairy tale romance. She's young. I do think the age gap is maybe a little bit more obvious in this book because of how young she is in her love. And that is okay. And Senator Wolf Keaton, he needs something from her father, so he steals her first kiss, hence it's called The Kiss Thief. There is one scene in this book where they go into the bedroom. I'm not going to say what happens, but it broke me. He believes some things that she's told him, and it truly broke my soul. And if a book can do that to me, I think you should read it. Name a book you wouldn't be caught dead reading. I'll go first, ... There are so many worse books to be caught dead reading. I just mean, like, if people know what happens in this book, maybe that's why. I don't know. And then the final one was perfect read for bed because it's a snooze fest. How is this a snooze fest? It's the opposite of a snooze fest. It's just so good. So yeah, if you want mafia, yearning, forced marriage, hate to love, this book is for you. So thank you so much for watching my video. That was just some of the books that I absolutely love and some of the 1-star reviews, which generally make me giggle. And I kind of want to message these people who've done the 1-star reviews to find out more. I love knowing when people don't love a book, why. But yeah, no hate at all. It was just a bit of fun. If there's any books that you know I've rated 5 stars and you want me to see what the 1-star reviews of them in a future video, do let me know in the comments. And maybe I'll switch on its head and find some books I didn't love and see what the 5-star reviews were. But I feel like that's a little bit more time building one because I don't have that many books I don't love. I just love reading. Make sure you have followed me, subscribed, and turned on notifications so you'll be notified when I post in the future. And I'll see you book lovelies next week.